The Kickstarter for the Western Reaches, which is a West Marches style campaign setting for Shadowdark, has just completed. And the community there is amazing. They've been very welcoming to me, even though I am completely new to Shadowdark. And even Kelsey herself has been able to directly respond to some of the stuff that I've done, which is very awesome. She's been very helpful. And I wanted to see what I could do to give back, because one of the things that I'm noticing as people are talking about West Marches in a much more practical sense, rather than the concept of West Marches, is a little bit of a lack of resources for people that say, okay, I'm sold on the idea. I want to jump in. I want to get started. I don't understand how the logistics work for this. So this video is going to be something showing the tools that I use to run my West Marches campaign. What are the things that I actually think are important? And I'm going to try to start with what I feel are the most broadly applicable, useful tools for everything. And then I'm going to kind of dial it in a little bit later in the video for these are the tools that I use that are specifically for my game, for me, to give you an idea of some sort of things you could use that if what I'm using, lines up with a system or lines up with a game or lines up with a concept you have, you can sort of see what I've done and build off of it. And if you have something that you use or you're planning to use in a West Marches campaign, please share, because I want, if I can, to make another version of this video that compiles a bunch of information for how do we logistically run a West Marches campaign, specifically in the Western Reaches for Shadowdark. Later on, we are actually working on a web tool that should make this integrated, should make it very easy, no matter what system you're running, no matter what type of West Marches you're doing, allowing users to be able to join through Discord and just have their one login and keep track of all their characters and their inventory and all the nitty gritty of where was my character on these different days, all that sort of stuff, have it loaded into a web app that is usable on both mobile and on the desktop. But that's a later. But I'm going to show you what the tools are that I think are important, so you can sort of see what I'm going to be trying to integrate for the web tool. So let's just jump into things. First things first, we're going to get this out of the way. I'm going to assume that if you're here watching this, you at least know what Discord is and hopefully are not averse to using it, because Discord, I think, is a very valuable thing for West Marches. I think it has basically replaced the idea of an email chain or something similar. And you can totally do some of the things that we're going to be doing here on other platforms. I'm going to be focusing on Discord, at least for the bulk of this video, because I think this is important and because I think Discord is well suited for running this campaign. So what you can see on my screen here is this is my Dice Mice server. This is the West Marches campaign that I'm running right now. The system isn't incredibly important for being able to understand the tools, but what you can see at the top is that you have this bar here that shows you how I'm viewing this server. And so when I set up this server and when you set up your West Marches server, some things to consider is I think it is very useful for a new player to have the idea and understanding that there is a lot of stuff that's there, but not have everything just right in their face. Oh my God, I have 1,000 things to look at and read and be able to see everything that's going on. I think being able to direct people specifically to what you need is probably the most important. And honestly, if you have a character creation system that can jump them straight into the fray, Discord can have a thing where when you join, it will create a pop-up and you go through this system of joining a server that by the end of it, you could have them have their character already generated. And that would be incredibly useful for something like Shadowdark, where character creation could be quite quick, especially if you can set up the cards for joining your server to have all the character creation tools, have them click through the steps, have something like Avray, which is a bot that rolls things for you, actually roll up their character stats, or they can use pregens and you can have the pregens loaded into it. It's something that you'd be able to do with the Discord sort of onboarding for a new server. I don't have that for my server. I think that takes a little bit more technical expertise, so I thought it'd be more useful to say this takes very little understanding other than just how to create a channel and how to label things. So what my Discord is set up, I have the rules and resources and the game in general. And I have a lot of little tabs here because my game is very active, and so there's a lot of stuff that I can't kind of withdraw from, even viewing as everyone. But these little sidebar ones, if you ignore those, you'll see that there's not a lot of channels that a new user can see. It's the game mentality of the game. So, if this is a West Marches thing that's very specific, you would have some of the West Marches things in here, but this breaks down all the things for the game itself. And then something. For me, it's Squeakshire County. For you, this might be your game world, your explanation, your landing page for if you have like a specific set of races for character creation tools, things like that. And then this is Life as a Mouse. So this is your explanation of what does the day-to-day life look like? What is the vibe of your thing? You're going to get a little bit of that from Game Mentality, but this breaks it down a little bit stronger. You can also include, again, things like races or heritage or what you want to have as backgrounds here. And then this is a crucial page. So for this is the references stuff. This is something that you can create hyperlinks for everything you're going to use. So this campaign uses Roll20. So it gives you the Roll20 join link straight up front. It also uses the character census, which we'll be going over a little bit later, and then has an idea of what the snapshots of the different character are and gives you the links. This gives you the basically table of contents for a brand new player, what they would need to do. And even for a more experienced player, there's just some pieces on here that are like the important posts, like how does initiative work in the system? It's a little different than some of the other systems. So whatever is important to you that you think is either going to be something you think your players are going to ask about a lot, or if you find your players are asking about stuff a lot, you can include a link to it on the reference page. And using Discord, some of these things are going to be linking to external sources. For example, the Roll20 link obviously links to Roll20 campaigns. But if I clicked on the initiative explanation, it just links it to later on in this chart. So it's a chart that is actually in Discord. And same thing with if I click on the encounter map, it links to the legend for the encounter map and shows this big expansive picture for the encounter map that we use, which I'll be going over in more detail later. So you have a new player channel, which gives you the onboarding of things where you welcome new people, your players can talk to each other, and that's talk to the new players, and any sort of new channels that you have to set up. So again, the idea is to make it to where you want to have probably less than 10 channels visible to the new player. So with these 5 and these 5 here, that's kind of capping it out. I could probably hide off topic and session quotes and not really lose much, because these are more for people that are part of the campaign as a way to sort of just chill and hang out and get to know each other as people. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this server a little differently. So I'm going to click on it as what it looks like for an adventurer. So Roll20 lets you set up people as different roles. In this campaign, I have adventurer mean it's anyone who's able to join a game. These are people that have completed character creation. You could even have it set up to where that onboarding process, where you agree to the rules on a normal server, your server, you could have that onboarding process end with them creating a character. And once their character is created and submitted, then they would then gain the adventure role, and it would unlock the rest of the server, or unlock a good chunk of the rest of the server. So with that, you still have the same game rules and resources, and most of Game General looks the same. However, there is now a Adventures tab, which for me contains the broadsheets, which are a in-game or in-world newspaper that shows kind of all the stuff that's going on, gives some quest hooks, some starting things. These are all normal sort of West Marches things. These are the beginning things to get people interested in what's in the wilderness, and then as well as announcements for changes that are happening. An I Need a Hero channel. So I do want to talk about this one a little bit more specifically, because this is something that I find isn't talked about a lot, but is pretty important for a West Marches game in the long run. And having it set up as its own channel can kind of prompt people to know that this is a thing that happens and to lead people into this style of play. So I Need a Hero is what happens when other players need help with something, but they don't have the time to do it. They don't have the resources to do it. They don't have the desire to do it themselves. You might have characters that have some high-level characters they want to play, but they want to get to a location that is through some low-level stuff, and they'd rather not cut through the low-level stuff on the way to do the high-level thing, so they'll hire low-level players. Or they might say, hey, if anyone finds a piece of obsidian that I need for this crafting material, I will pay, triple its worth, whatever, right? This is sort of a quest board or a quest location for things that are made by players for other players. And putting that up front and having its own section for it, if that's something that's important to you, which it is important for me in a West Marches game, can signal that, right? So you can sort of tell here when you're creating a channel, you are also creating what is important to your West Marches. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, this is very important, is going to be the scheduling section. Now, a lot of stuff I've been talking about so far is general Discord stuff. This is going to be specific to how West Marches works and how I schedule my West Marches game. So what I do is I put in here what my availability is to run games, And as part of the onboarding process, I explained to people that in order to actually have a game put onto the schedule, they need to get 3 other players and a total of 4 players together. And those players need to figure out what they're doing, when they're doing it, and pick the slot that they're doing it in. And then they need to ping me and say, hey, DM, we want to go to the Thorned Archway at slot 34. And this is what we plan to do on the Thorned Archway. We're going to go past the room with the rat ghoul in it and see what's beyond. Great. Awesome. We can put that on the schedule. Now, if you look on here on the screen, you'll see that, for example, slot 140 doesn't have a little blue thing next to it. That means that I've put it there as say I can do it, but I don't actually have something scheduled there. Now, before I go into what the little blue markers do, let me explain the slots and why the dates look a little weird. So the slots, the reason they are there and the dates and the time is because you're going to have people, ideally, if you're playing this online, playing from all different time zones. If you're playing in person, it's not as sort of critically important. But what I've found is having slots with slot numbers, even playing in person, is valuable because if you say slot 140, you're much less likely to have confusion about that than if you have people saying, oh, well, I thought you meant the game that was next Saturday. It's like, yeah, next Saturday is in the one that's after the Saturday that is next. You know, it's Thursday now. So next Saturday doesn't mean, you know, in a couple of days. It means in a week and a couple of days. If it's just a number, it's relatively easy to just say, oh, no, this is the actual day that we're talking about. And if you are playing online, the reason the dates and times look a little weird is going to be important. So what I do is I put in hammer time next to the slot what day and time that is for me. And the crucial part here is that means that if you use the tool hammer time, there's a couple other options to do it as well. But if you use the tool hammer time, it will localize that time to whatever time zone the people are looking at it. So for me, if I look at slot 140, it might say it is Friday, April 18th at 8 p.m. And if someone who is in my campaign, but they're in Los Angeles, I'm in Kentucky, they look at that, it won't say 8 p.m., it'll say 5 p.m., right? It'll automatically adjust for their time zones, whatever the time zone settings they have for Discord. And that is really, really helpful, especially when the time zones get very weird. When it's your one time zone off, it's a slight confusion, but I've got players that are in Vietnam, I've got a player that's in Finland, I've got a player that's in Australia. That means that there's radical differences in time zones and even sometimes in what day something is taking place on. So saying a game is on Saturday doesn't mean the same thing to your Australian player as it does to your Finnish player. So having this as a generalized thing that everyone can go, we're just going to use the slot number for no matter where you're on the world, slot 140 is slot 140. And then for the display for the players, having it in hammer time means that you're never going to have time zone confusions, or you're going to lessen the time zone confusions, I should say. So once the players get together and they say, hey, we do want to schedule the game, I can schedule the game. Now, there's 2 ways to do it. You can actually schedule it using a bot or using just links. I use a bot, and I tend to use a bot that lets me put it someplace else. So this is what the Sesh bot looks like. I use the free version, and it does basically everything I need. I have been gifted the premium version, and there is one tool on the premium version that for a specific type of West Marches campaign is very valuable, and I'll go over that when I go deeper into the bot. But for now, this is what you're going to be seeing is it's creating something on here. If I click on any of these things, I can create a new event, and once that event is then created, then it'll pop it out into this I want to play channel, into a sign up sheet that they can see, and they would be able to sign up for whatever they want to do. Now, I don't actually have any games that are on the schedule for really soon, just because I've got a lot of other stuff going on, and I'm about to take a little bit of a break from my campaign for about a week, and then I'll be coming back to it. But the way that this tool is set up, it will let me go to like the Arai thing, and then you can see the output of this tells you, this is an in-person game. I run a hybrid game. I run both in-person and online. What the slot number is, what the in-game date it is. It's May 11th in the in-game, and out of game, it's April 30th. And this tells you that this will take place in Louisville. It tells you the address where everything takes place. And then you can either sign up for it, as a check mark, a maybe, or a no. And then it also gives a little sidebar for messages that the players can coordinate with in this sidebar. And so, for example, sometimes this sidebar down here has 93 messages in it. There's a lot of discussion back and forth about what people are doing. The players can make polls to say what sort of rewards they want to go for. They can set up what characters they're going to bring. There's a lot of sort of logistics that can happen. We're having a little side chat for the people that think they're going to be there for that session is just very, very valuable. And so the DM calendar, whenever it on here, it'll link to, say, I'm going to look at this Arai game. It'll take me to that thing on the calendar, and I can very easily see it. I can very easily go through it. And then if I want to see what the bigger calendar looks like, I have the actual tool on the website part of it. So this is critically important for me. And in order to get one of these things scheduled, the scheduling channel is here, so they can just sort of have discussions. They can talk about whatever they want. And then occasionally they will get a bunch of people together and they'll say, hey, here's the thing that's happening. We want to get these things together. Hey, could we set aside, so this is a bad example because they say Thursday at 8 p.m. Ideally, I would tell them, hey, tell me the slot number for that. And then they ping the other people that are going to be involved. And then they say this because that gives the other people, if one of them says, actually, no, I can't make that day, it gives them the opportunity to respond before I schedule the game. So this all gets built in here. So this is a very good logistic way for me to be able to put up my schedule, for them to be able to use that to plan, and for them to be able to, once it's on the schedule, be able to sign up for it. Now, a couple of rules that I'm going to explain when I go into this that might make things make a little bit more sense on some pieces. Let's see if I can find a good example. I have a lot of bad examples that I could have done ahead of time. So let's do this Prophet Delve Part 1 example here. So it does let me do some extra things on here. So in addition to having the adventurer role, I also have the hero role, and I have the paragon and technically the icon role, which is the tiers in my game. If you have certain group requirements for your game, you can set those up. I don't tend to hide channels. I think that fragments a West Marches game to hide and have like, oh, this is only the high level. This is only the mid-level chat. Like the low-level people shouldn't be here. I think all those chats should be visible to everybody. But having the ability to say, hey, this is going to be something we want to ask all the people that have a character of level 4 or greater if they want to go do something. That is a valuable thing. And it's kind of a nice badge to have to say, oh, I have, one of my characters is level 4 or higher. So that is what the hero tag means here, is that your character is level 4 or higher. And so the tool lets me, when a new game is created, ping everyone that is of a certain thing. So this is pinging all heroic characters, all heroes. And then in this little description, you can also see that there is a thing that says the Delve participants. So this can also be something like priority. This is the things that this is the specific group of people that can come in. And I'm going to use the one above it as a little bit of a better example, where you can have priority for however you want to set it up to help people have an understanding of how likely they are to get into the game. And so, for example, this game, there's a group of people that had scheduled. So we had 4 people. One of the benefits that I have set up is that if you're one of the 4 people that request a session, you are guaranteed to get into one of those games. You can use your priority to say, this is the game I really want to play in for this week or this 2-week block, and you're guaranteed to see. You're never going to be signing up for something and not be able to play. I don't use first come, first serve. There's a couple of different things that I do. One of them is priority. And I also have it set up to where the max I will run for is 6. The max priorities I ever set is 4. So there's always a benefit for signing up early. You only get 1 priority a week, so you can't just, you and 3 of your buddies just lock out all the slots and, man, I've got a seat every night for the whole week. No, it doesn't work like that. And in this instance, the 4 players that signed up, only one of them had priority remaining. The other 3 were using their priorities on a different session. So one of them said, yeah, I definitely want a spot on this. And then I said, what they were planning on doing here was they were going to go and convert their characters. They're going to take a character of theirs and convert it into being this new hero class that got discovered, called an artificer. And anyone who had a character they wanted to bring along to convert into an artificer, to retrain as an artificer, they would have a priority for the session. And then, if Cassandra is here, they're going to take 1 spot, and then the other people are going to take another set of spots, and then finally everybody else can kind of come in if they don't have something else. That gives people an understanding when they go to sign up how likely they are to be able to play. And again, the whole idea here is I want it to be something where You want to promote the idea of having people sign up for the games because they don't get posted otherwise. But you also want to make sure that people who are busy, that can't check the Discord all the time, that aren't going to be quite as proactive, but will still be good players and will still be involved, have the ability to sort of like drop into what's going on and jump into the action, and making sure your players know that it's not first come first serve. There is sort of a system for how often people can play to make sure that new players and people that don't get to play as often still really get to jump in and have fun, and having a clear-cut way that they can see what's going on is all very useful. So this is the reason that I have it set up like this, and then I have an AAR channel. Now an AAR forum. So the forums for after action reports are set up in such a way so that when an adventure gets completed, you'll see kind of over here on the right hand side of the screen, it says this one says as good as formerly possible, and it'll say what the real life game date was, which is March the 2nd, what the end game day was, which is April the 24th. And then it'll ping the players that are here. And that's very helpful for people being able to go back and see what they've done and what adventures they were for. And then it'll say whatever sort of rewards are associated with this. So this has a narrative thing. This has a narrative reward that goes through things. And some of the other ones will have rewards of how much money or how many magic items you got on it. So for example, Burn the Tree, Curse the World, below where the rewards it says gold. They got 2,250 gold pieces and 4,500 gold pieces worth of heartwood as a valuable resource, each player. And then there was another narrative reward. If they tell their story of what happened, they'll get their normal reward for submitting an AR, which is 50 experience, 50 gold in the system. And then on top of that, what they had done was this momentous completion of a quest. So one of the local NPC houses, one of the local lords, was going to pay them sort of a premium for telling the tale of how they did what they did and giving all the juicy details to the lord so that he can use those in his dealings and actings. So this is a way to set things up, and having things that people can search and people can like very easily see where stuff is. The other element here is being able to link these things is very useful for players. As the players want to kind of branch out and do things, different styles will use like a group map, or they might have like, it used to be like an email chain, or you might have a like Google document where everyone puts all their quests in. What is also very helpful is if people say, hey, what do we know about the Formian 7? What do we know about that guy? And someone might tell the player, oh, this is all the stuff that we know. However, if you have AARs, if you have these things that are linked up in the Discord and someplace that is accessible, what will happen is someone will say, oh, here's some stuff that we know about this guy. They'll give a really brief summary most of the time. And then they'll just link the AAR and say, hey, what we know, it's in this AAR. Here, go read as good as formerly possible. And they won't link the top one. What they will link is this explanation down below, this dossier of, hey, here's an explanation of the whole thing. So they'll link this post, and you can right click on anything and just copy message link and send them a link in chat so they can go ahead and just read it. And that is incredibly valuable because it lets your players very easily share the information they have without repeating themselves a ton of times. And although most D&D players just absolutely love to tell what the cool stuff they did in their character is, they don't tend to like to repeat it a whole bunch of times. So being able to only say the cool bits that you have fun saying and then link the rest of it, which has some of the information the person might need, is incredibly valuable. And having it set up like this way is very useful. So I also have Hybrid Relations. This is a channel for the in-person players and the online players to talk to one another. And I have it set up like that because I want to make sure that everyone is talking to each other. Downtime and crafting is very useful and very important. I'll talk about these channels a little bit more when I'm talking about the specific things for my systems. But this section can be sort of tailor-made to whatever you want it to be, however you want to track it. You can create channels here for this is how you craft stuff. You can pin things and say, all right, here's the pins for, this is how you make a scroll in this game. These are when the Bane availabilities are for these different things. These are how the rare materials work for the different components. You can have that all sorted in here. And then down below, one of the things that I would also recommend is I have a section called Game Design. And in game design, I have a thing that says, hey, are there any errors in my documentation? Sometimes it's typos, although people very rarely bring those up. Most of the time it's like, hey, you said we get 50 gold for the thing on page 4 of this document, and on page 11 of this document, you said that that's 200 gold. Which one of these is correct? Having a place that's not just your general chat for people to nitpick the stuff that's important, that it's all the same, is very valuable. I also have a feedback section that is just very much a tell me whatever you think is going on with the campaign, what's going on with the system, what do you like, what do you dislike. Make it to where it is very open so people can air out whatever problems they have, because West Marches is going to be a community. You're going to have a bunch of people that are going to be coming from all walks of life, and if they don't have a release valve to be able to say, man, this thing kind of bugged me, you're going to have issues. So I have that. I have the off-topic channel as a release valve to a certain degree, and then also have the feedback channel. And then because my game is a West Marches campaign, but it's also a system that I'm writing, I also have a systems section, a system questions section in the Discord. So I've done a ton of talking about Discord itself. I'm looking at 25 minutes of talking about Discord. So we'll stop this first video here, and then we'll pick back up.